am Philaletea, and a miracle happened for me in my sleep last night. I cannot stay long. God provided for me a miracle. I went to sleep last night. I forgot to get a bottle of water. So I went to sleep last night, and this was the water I had remaining in my tent. It wasn't frozen. I sucked as much of the water out of the ice here as I could, and I went to sleep. This bottle in my hand, as you know, has been frozen for days. This was one of the first bottles that I lost. And when I woke up, there's liquid water in this bottle. This bottle has been frozen for weeks. Days. Probably as long as 2 weeks. This was the first bottle that froze. So God has reached into my life to provide for me liquid sustenance so that I can provide into him. I can provide into your life shaggy sustenance. So I am compelled to worship this morning and give thanks for those things that I have and those things that I am losing. I have been called on to remember and mourn. Those are my skill sets. So here I go. Good morning, Brandon. Oh. We are going to read from the Book of Jonah. Because identifying a miracle is one thing, but identifying what the miracle is a communication about is another. So we're going to read the Book of Jonah. Because you kind of think this story ends after the fish. And so we could skip past the fish because most of the book happens after the fish. But this is kind of just, if I'm going to pause and meditate on that sentence, you kind of think this story ends at the blank, but there's a lot more book after the blank, is just kind of everything. If I was losing my mind over Final Fantasy VIII, it's because you kind of know the first disc, but everything after the first disc you don't know. And when I started to look into other mysteries like curling, evidently curling is a mystery to physics, but that's because they only look at the first data set. They look at the first data set. Well, there are a lot more data sets after the first one. Once humans in general realize that there's a bigger problem than just the one that they went in expecting to find, they leave. And they tell people that there's only the problem that they went in there looking for, because they know that nobody else is temperamentally, no one they know, no one they've ever heard of, is temperamentally likely to go past the first 50 words or the first 100 pages either. And so I do. Just consume the whole thing, like we did with Final Fantasy VIII. Just consume the whole thing. Don't stop when Adea shoots Squall with the ice. That's the first disc. There are 3 more discs of content to go. Engage with the whole thing. So we're going to read the Book of Jonah. Chapter 1. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and call out against it, for their evil has come up before me. Nineveh is a library city in Sumer, in Mesopotamia. At this point, it would have been Babylonian. But it's a library city. This is a city that is writing, producing, and copying works of literature. The Bible, Jonah, when it was first written, is a book of literature. But Jonah rose to flee to Tarshish So just from Jerusalem, I don't know where he is, but just from Jerusalem, Nineveh's over here, way the fuck over here to the east. Tarshish is up the coast a little bit and west. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of the Lord. But the Lord hurled a great wind upon the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship threatened to break up. Now again, Nineveh's in the desert, way the fuck to the east from Joppa or Jerusalem, Israel in general. This other place, Tarshish, is a night's ride by boat the wrong way. Then the mariners were afraid, and each cried out to his God, and they hurled the cargo that was in the ship into the sea to lighten it for them. But Jonah had gone down into the inner part of the ship and had lain down and was fast asleep. So the captain came and said to him, "What do you mean, you sleeper? Arise, call out to your God. Perhaps the God will give a thought to us, that we may not perish." And they said to one another, "Come, let us cast lots, that we may know on whose account this evil has come upon us." So they cast lots. And what that means, effectively, is that they did the short stick, long stick game. Whoever's got the short end of the stick is the one who did the thing. They did lots, because lots are random. Lots can't be influenced by any one of them, if they're done correctly. And so when I talk about miracles and divining miracles and reading miracles and understanding the message inherent in a miracle, because a miracle isn't just an impossible thing that happens so you can marvel at it, right? God doesn't intervene in reality in a way that materially changes it just because. We didn't play Final Fantasy VIII and get to the end of the game just because. We got to the end of the game to watch the cutscene where Laguna married Rain. That was the point. That's why we did that. We intervened in the time stream. But by so doing, we also put Squall in two alternating time streams. We put him backward in the past, where he made a change to create the seed, and we also put him backward in the past into his body in that high school to start the game over. So we got Squall stuck in a loop across these 4 CDs. So we have to understand these 4 CDs to accurately memorize and know who Squall is, so that we don't become squalls of our own grief. Anyway, they reach to the random, because only God can influence the random. And the lot fell on Jonah. Then they, the people on the ship, said to Jonah, "Tell us on whose account this evil has come upon us. What is your occupation, and where do you come from? What is your country, and of what people are you?" And Jonah said to them, "I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, "What is this you have done?" For the men knew that he was fleeing from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Then they said to him, "What shall we do to you, that the sea may quiet down for us?" For the sea grew more and more tempestuous. Now, these men are caught up in a life-threatening situation because Jonah is disobeying his God. They are not worshipers of Jonah's God, but they are absolutely caught up in the maelstrom of Jonah creating friction with what God wants of reality. God has materially changed reality by telling Jonah to do something that will materially change the future. Jonah said to them, "Pick me up and hurl me into the sea. Then the sea will quiet down for you, for I know it is because of me that this great tempest has come upon you." Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to get back to dry land, but they could not, for the sea grew more and more tempestuous against them. They were unwilling to do this thing, throw him in the sea. That's effectively murder. They can throw the cargo in the sea because it's all insured. It's all insured. In fact, they're expected to do this by the rules of maritime trade for maybe 2,000 years by this point. save your lives, preserve your lives. The goods are just goods. If you are dead, you will never move those goods for me ever again. So make sure that you preserve your life, because the human life is more valuable than these goods. You can start to see where these religions come from when you're talking about a region that is dominated by maritime trade for thousands of years. Therefore they called out to the Lord, his God. O Lord, his God, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not on us innocent blood. For you, O Lord, have done as it pleases you. Hey, Cindy, I was thinking about you last night. I was praying for you. I hope you're doing okay. So, see the scene. The ocean is crazy. These men are on what may as well be one of those barges that you see moving tankers, moving those, like the fucking railroad cars, right? You see those move from big ships out into the into docks, and there's these long fucking logs with a bunch of shit in it. That's effectively what these men are on. They're on a long rectangle with a shallow, round little scooped bottom that basically just bobs its way across the ocean by the grace of God, not capsizing at every second. And so these men are praying to a God that is not theirs to preserve their lives. Please. Desperation moment. Desperation time. And do not make us kill this man. He's innocent to us. He has done us no harm. He's done our families no harm. He's done our business no harm. No harm, no foul by his being here, this verifiable storm happening, and us throwing the stuff overboard. But if we die, that would be a cruelty by God on those men, and they know it. They would curse God with their final breaths. So they say, for you, O Lord, have done as it pleased you. So they picked up Jonah, and they hurled him into the sea. And the sea ceased from its raging. Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows. I believe, AJ, that you are already burning in hell because you don't believe. I think that you are already burning in hell because this life experience is hell, and that you have to ask the question is evidence that you are actively on fire right now. The ark didn't happen, Dark Horse. The story continues. Then the men, seeing that as soon as he was no longer on their boat any longer, were no longer in a storm at sea, feared the Lord exceedingly, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows. This feared here should actually be revered. They revered his God. And the Lord appointed a great fish to swallow up Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the belly of the fish, saying, I called out to the Lord out of my distress, and he answered me. This is actually a poem. This is a song. Out of the belly of Sheol I cried, and you heard my voice. For you cast me into the deep, into the heart of the seas, and the flood surrounded me. All your waves and your billows passed over me. Then I said, I am driven away from your sight. Yet again, look upon your holy temple. Or yet again, I shall look again upon your holy temple. The waters closed in over me to take my life. The deep sea surrounded me. Weeds were wrapped about my head at the roots of the mountains. I went down to the land whose bars closed upon me forever. Yet you brought up my life from the pit. O Lord my God, when my life was fainting away, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came to you, into your holy temple. Those who pay regard to vain idols forsake their hope of steadfast love. But I, with the voice of thanksgiving, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed I will pay. Salvation belongs to the Lord. This poem is probably not actually original to this composition. The poem is probably many hundreds or maybe even thousands of years older than the book. And just like they did with Gilgamesh, someone wrote a book around the poem. That's probably what happened. And the Lord spoke to the fish and invited Jonah out upon the dry land. Chapter 3. Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah the second time, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and call out against it the message that I tell you. So Jonah arose and went to Nineveh, according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceedingly great city, 3 days' journey in breadth. Jonah began to go into the city, going a day's journey. And he called out. Now, the city is so big that its diameter is 3 days to walk. It takes 3 days to walk across the city. That's a fucking huge city. That's a huge city by today's standards. We're not talking about a massive population. We're talking about a massive surface area. And so Jonah, he walks for a full day into the city, and he spends that time calling out, Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overgrown. That's what he does for a whole day. And the people of Nineveh believed God. Not overgrown, overthrown. Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. He spends his entire day walking through the city saying that. And the people of Nineveh believed God. They called for a fast and put on a sackcloth from the greatest of them to the least of them. The word reached the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne, removed his robe, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat in ashes. Now, there is a specific reason that the author here does not name the king of Nineveh. Whether that's because he's a satrapy of one of the greater kings, the kings of kings, because everybody reading this knew who the king was at the time, or more likely because this is set into a past so long ago that the actual lived experience in Nineveh is forgotten. He wouldn't need to describe how big the city is if you could go there at time of writing. The word reached the king of Nineveh. So he left who the king was because they didn't know. The author probably didn't know who the king of Nineveh, whether he was the satrapy or the king of Babylon at the time, probably didn't know. He probably didn't actually know the name of the guy. He probably didn't actually have access to the king's lists. This was probably written after exile. The king arose from his throne, removed his robe, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat in ashes. And he issued a proclamation and published through Nineveh. Okay, so he issues a proclamation that's taken down by a scribe at his throne room. Scribe takes this down, wax tablet, whatever. It's not wax. It would have been in cuneiform. So it would have been on a little piece of clay in his hand, and he would have just impressed the words that the guy is saying, and then he would have taken it down to one of these libraries I'm talking about, because Nineveh is a library city. He would have taken it down to this library, and he would have had hundreds or maybe even thousands of copies, and they would have been posted around the city, and criers, as they were putting them up, would have said, "This says what the king is about to say to us," and people would memorize what the crier had said, not what the tablet said. The tablet was the authority that the crier is speaking from and that everybody is remembering now. And this is what the king said. By the decree of the king and his nobles, let neither man nor beast, herd nor flock, taste anything. Let them not feed or drink water, but let man and beast be covered with sackcloth, and let them call out mightily to God. Let every one turn from his evil way and from the violence that is in his hands. Who knows? God may turn and relent and turn from his fierce anger so that we may not perish. When God saw what they did, how they turned from their evil way, God relented of the disaster that he had said he would do to them, and he did not do it. Chapter 4. He relented because Jonah didn't have to walk the whole distance into the city. He only had to walk a third of the way into the city before the message got to the king, and the king reacted appropriately. Chapter 4. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was angry. And he prayed to the Lord and said, "O Lord, is not this what I said when I was yet in my country? That is why I made haste to flee to Tarshish. For I knew that you are a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love, and relenting from disaster." What that means is he's saying, I fled because I knew that if I gave you time, you wouldn't destroy Nineveh. And then he goes, because you're actually a good guy. Therefore now, O Lord, please take my life from me. For it is better for me to die than to live. Out of embarrassment that he just walked for an entire day saying that God's going to destroy this place, and then it didn't happen. And the Lord said, do you do well to be angry? You ever think about that phrase? You doing the right thing being mad right now? Do you do well by yourself and by me and by the people of Tarshish and Nineveh by being mad right now? By reacting in this way? Are you all right? Is what God asked him. God goes, you cool, bro? That's what he said. God, right here. And the Lord said, you cool, bro? Jonah went out of the city and sat to the east of the city and made a booth for himself there. He sat under it in the shade till he should see what would become of the city. He's pissed off because God didn't kill these people. He's embarrassed because he did a thing that looks like an insane person. Only a crazy person would walk through a city screaming about how everybody's gonna die for a full 24-hour period, and then it doesn't happen. But he's looking around at everybody in sackcloth mourning appropriately. So now what am I supposed to do? So he storms out of the city, petulant, mad with God, demanding that God strike him down, or that God just let him die in the fish. Oh, why didn't you just leave me in my rock bottom moment? Everyone listened to me and responded appropriately. This is bullshit. That's how Jonah's responding right now. I've skipped a word. Sorry. So he goes outside of the city and he sits down in the middle of the desert to let himself die. That's what he does. He goes and he sits down in the middle of the fucking desert, alone, no water, petulant, pissed off. Jonah does. To let himself die out there in the desert. Because that's what happens when you go out into the desert without water. Now the Lord God appointed a plant and made it come up over Jonah so that it might be a shade over his head. So this tree just under him. Because God's not going to let you die just because. Just because you asked for it. To save him from his discomfort. And what that means is to save him from certain death in the desert. There was no tree, and then there was a tree. To provide him comfort in the desert. Comfort is the word that they chose. So Jonah was exceedingly glad because of the plant. Jonah does not have control over his emotions like a Roman Stoic. But when dawn came up the next day, God appointed a worm that attacked the plant so that it withered. When the sun rose, God appointed a scorching east wind, and the sun beat down on the head of Jonah so that he was faint. God says, I'll still kill you out here. I can still do it. And he asked that he might die, and said, it is better for me to die than to live. But God said to Jonah, do you do well to be angry for the plant? Are you mad, bro? And Jonah said, yes, I do well to be angry. Angry enough to die. And the Lord said, You pity the plant for which you did not labor, nor did you make it grow, which came to being in a night and perished in a night. And should not I pity Nineveh, that great city, in which there are more than 120,000 persons who do not know their right hand from their left, and also much cattle? Bookend. No. When you die, God will welcome you back with open arms. There is no pit in which God forgets us forever. Pits in which we are forgotten are literal, not metaphors. Pits in which we are forgotten are literal, not metaphors. God will not leave you in a pit. God will not punish you for a life less lived. God will not destroy you just because you had no relationship with him. God will destroy you for doing evil and refusing to repent. Jesus made it very clear. The only forgivable sin is the sin of refusing to ask forgiveness for a forgivable sin. The sin there is the refusal, not the earlier sin. God doesn't care about the earlier sin. God cares about the refusal to ask forgiveness, because it's the refusal to ask forgiveness that hardens our heart in the day-to-day between worse behaviors. Refusing to ask forgiveness, refusing contrition, refusing to accept that you have done wrong is how you do worse wrongs in the future. That is what God is concerned about. That is what God is concerned about. God is concerned that we look inside and we say, enough is enough. I'm going to stop for me. And thanks for being here, Bridges. God worked a miracle in my life, and I'm here to show you how miracles actually work, because he's doing them in your life too. You're just blind because you're not reading the scripture. You're not reading what's been written. You're not looking for a message. You're not looking for communication. But this has been a block of ice for 2 weeks. I didn't have enough water to go live today and give thanks. To go live today and spread the gospel, so to speak, because I didn't have any water. You are beloved, Rachel. I'm glad my ice melted to drink it too. Jonah's one of my favorite stories. But the Nineveh part and the belly even of the whale, all of that feels like an addenda onto the song when you actually read it. When you actually sit with it and you read it, it feels like a much later addenda, Iron Age addenda, maybe even late, maybe even early Um, Greco-Roman classical addenda to a very old song, maybe probably maybe Bronze Age, maybe even Neolithic. Thank you for being here. Lucy sat down here while I was awake, going to sleep, and she sat down in the corner beside me, just chittering and bathing and scratching, and I think she got herself a little lost inside my backpack, but I could very much tell that she was warm and comfortable. And then as I started to fall asleep, she waited until I was falling asleep to eat the chips that I put out for her so that her chewing wouldn't disturb me, and it didn't, and I fell asleep and I slept all night long. And it was great. I'm glad to hear that, Bridges. I don't love that it took I don't love that it took turning so far and running so far from God. I don't love that it took being literally imprisoned to see the light. But Jonah's prayer is a song. Jonah's prayer pre-exists that book. I am certain of that. She is. Molly is the mole. I don't know if I've gotten Lucy on camera, but she is very cute. She keeps me company. She does. It's all about how you choose to interpret it. And so that poem, that prayer, Bridges is witnessing not for me but to me that I chose the right poem, because that prayer will change you if you choose to let it. That's called being theopneustos, or theopneustos. Theopneustos is a completely incorrect way to pronounce that word. The P is silent, and the T and H, they don't make a th sound. They make a that's a Nordic thing. They make a th sound, and so it's like th, but I don't know how to do it correctly. As the H is silent, but you still shape it. So it's a choke noise that I don't know how to make. I think it's called a glottal stop. Hebrew does it, right? Like in chutzpah, they have that glottal stop choke noise that I don't know how to make. Sounds like you're pressing on the bottom of your tongue on the back, pushing it down into the end of your throat. Like Tea, like Teo, Teopneustos means God breathed. And that's what it means. Is that if you repeat these words, or you read these words, or you meditate on these words, or you take these words seriously, and they will change your life forever. They will give God an in into your life. And that's like a breath. It's like breathing. It's like weed, right? You only get it by breathing. I actually like inhalants. I prefer inhalants to other sources of intoxication, right? I don't prefer to drink it or eat it. I prefer to smoke it, because um, the ritual of breathing to me is, hi TCB. The ritual of breathing to me is a clever and adaptive language. Yeah, it's about interpretation, and so for me, it's about understanding and then adapting the language in a way that I don't have to lose it. So, like God saying, "Are you doing right by yourself?" In our language, we would say, "You good, bro? You." Well, that turmoil doesn't have to be resolved either, Rach. And I'll die on that hill too. God and I are never going to come to resolution that my life took the way that it did. Like in the play Hamlet, right? Hamlet, everyone in that play dies, right? But Hamlet goes to his death still upset that Hector died. Sort of, TCB. Sort of. If you think of it more like the Word was with God, and God exhaled the Word as the Spirit, now you're on the right track. Spirit in the ancient world, Greek, Hebrew, Latin, it meant breath, literally. To be inspired means to be inbreathed. Spiration means breath. But it also meant a manner of living. So to live in the spirit of Jesus, to live in the spirit of Jesus, means to live in the manner in which he breathed. I've been here for decades, TCB. I was already here when you found me. You didn't bring me or take me anywhere, pal. AG, me too, pal. Because I forgot that I gotta go work on my novel today. I gotta go work on Leaf or I'll forget. I gotta make that a Monday through Friday or I won't ever do it. I won't actually get around to doing it. I forgot that I gotta go do that. So now that I'm feeling inspired to go do something really fucking sad, really fucking sad actually, we carry on. We put the weight on our shoulders. We hope that our knees can stand under the strain, and we march. Well, TCB, just it's about what you do with it now that you're awake. It was bad. It was boring. I was expecting it to be more. But he did the right thing at the end where he said he did a great big I love America, thank you to the United States, all of that. I know you're joking. It was just weirdly boring. It was weirdly boring. He was dedicated to the Espanol. I was impressed that the only English he said was I love the United States, thank you America, thank you US, all of the things at the end. His gratitude was very sincere. I really liked that. But it didn't feel like he was an American. Even the no wardrobe malfunctions, surprisingly little twerking. His mostly naked lady dancers looked dramatically underage, so that's probably why. There was a lot a lot about it that had me going, this is weird. I was expecting more of a celebration of Puerto Rican and otherwise Latin American United States. I wanted the Seahawks to win, and I had a feeling it was going to be a bloodbath. Yeah, I kind of wanted it to go that way. I wanted it. If you guys, if I had sat down and scripted that game, this is what I would have said. It's retrodicting now, but what I would have said is this game's going to go up 20, 22, 21, 3 scores to nothing, and then Drake May's going to look good. The offense is going to blow up, and they're gonna look good. They're going to look like they can come back, and then the Seahawks are going to end that. And that's what happened. The Seahawks defense is too good. And with the first drive where Drake May's under pressure from a 4-man rush, the game was over. But what I didn't want to say is this game is going to be over with a 4-man rush because nobody wants to hear that. But if I had sat down and predicted that game, I would have I got the numbers wrong. I would have said 21-0. I would have said 21-0. It was 22, but that game was over with at the third field goal. That third field goal, and that was an insurmountable number of points. The Seahawks, their fan base had triggered them too many times about that Patriots loss, whatever, a decade ago, 2018, whenever that was. Their audience had, their fan base had triggered the players too many times. The defense was too triggered. There was no way that game was going to be anything other than a blowout. Puerto Rico is a part of America, TCB. That's what I'm saying. I've known a lot of Puerto Ricans, and they identify as Americans. They don't identify as um, they don't identify as a colonial holding. Um, and so I was just expecting Bad Bunny to do more. We're Americans. This is part of actual American culture. And now, yeah, now everybody gets to wipe it fresh. Even the Seahawks technically get to wipe fresh. Like, that was one of the things they were talking about during the game. Is John Snyder, their GM, is standing there. He's orchestrated four Super Bowl wins, four Super Bowl appearances, and 3 wins with 2 different head coaches, and totally different schemes, totally different rosters. Like, the guy deserves to be thought of as one of the best, and we don't, because he's been shackled to Pete Carroll for so long. I was thinking about that last night. Like, we no longer talk about Pete Carroll as the guy who won a national championship with a college team and a Super Bowl with an NFL team, the only person to ever do it. We no longer talk about him in those light, or in that light. I'm concerned for the Steelers too. I've been telling you as long as I know you that they need a stretch of losing years just to get talent infused back into the team, and they're trying to get 2 or 3 more years out of Aaron Rodgers and have Aaron Rodgers pass the torch to a rookie that they cobbled together or scrape up somewhere along the way with no trade assets, like it's 1985. And I don't know what the Steelers are going to do, because their owner, Art Rooney, I think, Mick Rooney, the current Rooney who's in charge of the team, is trying to step down as ownership. And so the Rooneys are acting like they might actually move the fucking team out of the family. So the Steelers are just in disarray. Art's been talking about dipping for a couple of seasons. Yeah. But this move, bringing in Mike McCarthy, isn't a I'm going to dip owner move. That's a I want a Super Bowl move. That's a I've got Aaron Rodgers. Let me get Mike McCarthy, and let me see if I can breathe some Packers life into this franchise that I've allowed to stagnate over the last 20 years. Roethlisberger should have had more rings. Tomlin should have more rings. Rodgers hasn't decided whether he's gonna come back or not. He hasn't stated publicly whether he's coming back. But the look on Mike McCarthy's face was that he's in. When they asked McCarthy if Rodgers was coming back, he said, "I've talked to him. I fucking hope he is. I took this job hoping I was going to be coaching Aaron Rodgers again," was the look on his face. "I took this job because I'm from Pittsburgh and I love the city of Pittsburgh. And it's, a major fucking notch on any coach's belt to coach the Green Bay Packers, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is a major, yeah, the suspense is what I love. I love this, Rach. That is a major notch. Notch. That's a major. You could really take that. You could really take that to a Hall of Fame. Okay. But he's got to win. He's got to win with the Steelers, because it does go on his resume that he didn't win anything with the Cowboys, and they didn't renew his contract. Yeah. The NFL is the best reality TV show on TV. Yeah. And if you watch Fox and ESPN is what I meant to say. If you watch ESPN and also Fox, it's also the best historical fiction show on television, because their whole artistic milieu, their whole raison d'etre at Fox and ESPN is to be historical revisionists, to lie to you throughout the course of the season, so you can't create a better football YouTube than what they're doing. Man, anything that has Dan Orlovsky on it is fucking hilarious. Just what I like to do. This is so mean. This is so mean. But what I like to do is I like to just watch when Dan Orlovsky's on TV, especially if it's live and I'm in public and I can't hear it. But anytime that Dan Orlovsky is just like on a screen, I like to mute it and turn off the subtitles and just watch the facial reactions. Just watch the facial expressions of the people who don't know they're on camera around him. That guy is the biggest fucking idiot on television. He was a fucking terrible quarterback. What we remember Dan Orlovsky for is running out the back of the end zone for a safety with no fucking pass rush. The guy just panicked and ran out the back of the end zone. That's what we remember him for. And then he's going to sit up on a stage at the Super Bowl and critique Sam Darnold and Drake May. And he's flanked by 2 defensive players. And they're just looking at him like, did you say that out loud? I don't even know what the guy's saying, but they're just looking at him like, you fucking just said that out loud. And I'm not allowed to interrupt you and react right now. I'm actually not allowed to react emotionally at all to the dumb shit that you say. And so you can see it blink in and out as they remember, oh, fuck, I'm not allowed to react to this. And then they go stoic again. And then they'll go, they make faces like that at him the whole time. It's embarrassing. I am so embarrassed for him. He's football's Meg. If you've watched enough football, or if you've watched enough Family Guy, everybody's just looking at him like, shut up, Meg. Like, at all times. Dan Orlovsky is the brunt of every joke. I am embarrassed for him, but he's so dumb. He's so dumb. He doesn't know it's happening, so he just walks into it all the time. Like, he goes on Pat McAfee, and they just roast him the whole time, and he doesn't know it's happening. He doesn't know it's happening. And so on some level, it's okay. Because he's got a nice salt and pepper beard. He can afford a nice suit. I'm not joking. I'm confessing that I do mean things too. It's mean. It's mean. But I really enjoy doing it. It makes me feel better about myself as a man. Which is why you guys watch Real Housewives. You're like, at least I'm not that bitch. I watch that guy like, at least I'm not that bitch. What's up, autistic? I'm not proud of this. I'm laughing, but I'm not proud of it. I wouldn't encourage you to do it. I've already encouraged you to do it. That's why I'm laughing. I'm such a fucking hypocrite. You guys are all going to leave my channel. You're going to go watch something with Dan Orlovsky. You're going to mute it. You're going to turn off the subtitles. You're just going to watch the faces of the people around him, and you're going to go, how the fuck have I not noticed this? So mean. But see, this is what I call guerrilla taste making. If I can get that guy off TV, then I'll stop bitching about it. That's why we're playing all these RPGs. Yeah, we're calling it Examining a Legacy, but we're trying to figure out where they went wrong so I can inspire them to be good again, so I can stop bitching. I don't expect any of you to care. I just want to quit bitching about it. And as I'm doing this, I'm still, how do I charge my phone? I have a battery bank here in the tent, and I charge the battery bank at Panera. Every day, same every day. I ate really well last night. I got a little drunk. And God provided me with enough, legitimately exactly enough water. Exactly enough water to not be hungover, to not wake up with um, my pelvis aching from holding my water all night, to do this show, um, which allows me the opportunity to say, if you can find it in your heart and find it in your time, to join the Discord, to observe the Patreon. It used to be that most of my work on there was free. And you got to understand, real quick, you got to understand that in times of siege, okay, and in times of Cold War, whether you know that the war is happening or not, trade is different. All right, someone is actively trying to steal from me, whether ideas or just my creative energy, my creative will to live. Someone is assaulting me, besieging me. And so what that means is that my Patreon is no longer entirely free. My Rob Longshore work was never supposed to sustain my livelihood. That work is too important. The story is too important. The history is too important. The metacosmology is too important. The Patreon was always made available to be free so that it could be read and it could be appreciated. But I always assumed that those frees would be trials, because there's too much there for any reasonable person to leave it free for long. How could you do that? How could you engage with the complexity and the genius of a work like Rob Longshore and not feel compelled to make sure that that person can eat? And so the people who come and engage with Rob antagonistically, I know exactly who you are. I know exactly what you are. And yes, if you bought the collection, everything that goes in the collection forever is yours. You can download all of it, whether you're subbed or not. You have the collection. And that's why I did it the way I did. And so you can go on the Discord. If you want to know, you can go to the Discord and you can translate the Japanese that's right there on my wall. And you can see that I am the better person, the bigger person. But I am under siege. And so what that means is that none of it's free any longer. I didn't make a mistake. You stole from me, and you were disinclined to ever repay the debt. So now nobody gets to. Nobody ever will get to see it free ever again. Because the man who wrote that, he deserves to have not lived in domestic abuse. He deserves to have not arrived at this tent because he couldn't find emotional and artistic support. And what that means is that I deserve to be paid for that work. And so, like a kindergarten class, it only takes one person stepping out of line. It only takes one person stepping out of line, and then now everybody is in single file. Let's go. Single file, alphabetical, out the fucking door. We're not playing this game. I spent a decade of my life working on that. And then you want to show up in my life and you want to make a bad faith comparison to the collector and demand that I stand trial for a work that you stole, that you only know about because it was stolen? The work that KJ, right now, that KJ is doing on his channel, the work that KJ is doing, tearing apart my literature, he did not buy, and that was never made available for free. What happened actually is that Studio Dynamics bought it and gave it to him. That's what happened. And so that he has it at all to tear apart is because the moment that he subscribed to my Patreon, I blocked him. As soon as I got the notification, blocked. I know what you're here to do. No. And then Studio Dynamics showed up. And I thought to myself, you have to give evil a chance. Because if you don't give evil people a chance to be evil, you're just paranoid. If you don't give people the opportunity to break the rules, a la Bill Belichick, then everyone will be breaking the rules. And so I waited, probably as many as a few weeks. And when I got that notification, bonk, and it begins with, "Hey, I'm here from KJ's channel." I knew that what I was talking to was not somebody who said, I don't know if KJ's critique of this work is in good faith. It seems like KJ is being unfair of this work, critiquing it out of a personal and emotional place, and not an intellectual place. And he mentions a few times that it's a draft, that's why he's allowed to steal it. I knew that that wasn't what I was dealing with. I knew that what I was dealing with, in fact, was someone who was there to reinforce their support of KJ by trying to prevent me from moving from draft to master. If I don't make it from draft to master, then their faith in KJ, this is called a bias, but you get a bias at a predisposition, and you arrive at a predisposition by being predisposed. And so he was disposed. My work was exposed to him, and he was disposed to my work. Apart from my work, he inherited biases against my work. And so he thinks on some level, he does actually think that he's the altruistic one. That's why he's so upset that I called him a thief to his face and refused to answer his questions. And that's why he's in the Discord now speaking in Japanese to other people in my Discord who are hiding there as agents of self-destruction, relaying information back to KJ so he can try to destroy me, like he destroyed the relationships that he made on my channel in an effort to destroy his relationship with his wife by means of infidelity. Temperament, folks, temperament is called predisposition in psychological terms. You are going to do your patterns over and over and over because you are predisposed to do your patterns, because you are tempered to do your patterns. You are going to be who you are at every level of abstraction, everywhere you are. It's not just a phrase. Everywhere I go, there I am too. Everything you do, you're going to do it in your spirit. This is why people try to replace your spirit with Jesus's. Nico. Yeah, I don't think you guys know how this works. The way that the troll to hate pipeline works is that I don't think you guys fully appreciate this. The way the troll to hate pipeline works is that they show up in your live or they show up in your comments and they say things that get under your skin and that they know you're reacting to, and then you mute them or you get rid of them, you otherwise block them, and then they go and they find you elsewhere on the internet to do these things to you. Specifically, they go to your Discord or your Patreon. Because to a thief and a troll, $5 or $10 ain't shit. $5 or $10 ain't shit to a thief or a troll when the idea is to grief you. When the idea is to try to destroy you and get between you and your ability to create the thing that they originally thought that they wanted to be a part of and that they made themselves not a part of. And he's got spies in my Discord. You can hear the cars at the Coles nearby. You can hear human behavior, Nathan. Like, I know you can hear this delivery truck as it drives by. And the thing is, I've known this for months. Because he's not subtle. In fact, twice he's been gifted a membership to my channel. Which means that over the course of minimum 2 months, he's just hiding there, muted. Waiting on me to say something that he can use his fuel against me. And so if you don't give him an opportunity to act on the fuel you've already given them, by not giving them fuel, you're paranoid. And they'll absolutely accuse you of such. That's what this Akane kid is doing. Accusing me of being paranoid. And then this Nico person that he's talking to in Japanese in my Discord is telling him that that seems to be my move. That I'm not a humble person and that I don't know how to accept when I make mistakes. I didn't make a mistake. And I have nothing to be humble about. You are trying to steal from me. Like you can hear the trash compactor. I know you can because my microphone picks up environmental sounds louder than it picks up my voice. So I know you can. I know. Oh, absolutely I can just kick them. I'm waiting to see if anybody on my actual Discord is an actual fan of Shaggy Phil Alitea, or whether they're a fan of the voice that they get when they speak to Shaggy Phil Alitea. Because an actual fan of Shaggy Phil Alitea would have intervened days ago. But I don't have fans. Like I don't have people in my comments saying positive things and chasing away the negative people. I don't have that. What I have is the troll to hate pipeline. I have people who show up to give me money so they can say hurtful things to me. These things. Yes, it is better to know your enemy. Like that Rage Against the Machine song. Know your enemy! Hey! Know your enemy. Or Sun Tzu, you know. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. For sure, Rach. I'm not actually worried about it. It's like what I do. It's just a penny. It's just another penny under another table, waiting to see if anybody's gonna come sweep this for me or not. The fuck am I paying you guys for? Not paying any of you yet. But that's the thing, is it's like if I'm trying to identify who I'm giving my money to, it's hard to divvy out nothing. Heard that. All right. I am going to end this live. I meant to end this live before my hands were numb. But I went ahead and got that off my chest, and now that's off my chest, and here I go. I'm going to put headphones in my ears and get down here to the Panera. Work on Leaf, get that posted to the channel. This freaked me out when I saw it. Big old doggo footprints. These weren't here before yesterday. I saw these yesterday. Big old doggo footprints, and then it freaked me out less because they're little doggo footprints. So clearly that's just a neighbor. Just a pair of neighbor dogs walked through here. Neighborhood dogs. But the first time I saw it, freaked me out. That's a big canine. Big canid. I don't want that bothering me at all. That's a big canid. Nah. Just neighborhood dogs. Probably somebody let them out of their car to go pee or something like that. Yeah, probably somebody walked them over here to this grass to let them pee. All right, I probably just muted my phone by grabbing these headphones out. So thank you guys for watching. You'll see me in a few hours. I'm gonna sit down to write. I'm gonna get hydrated. I'm gonna get comfortable. And if the writing feels like it's gonna be a slog, I'll go live and you can do it with me. Thank you. Be well. Have a great day.